Well, driving in the downtown core about to get a lot tougher, and that's thanks to long-term construction work starting today on Queen Street. And for the next at least 4.5 years, all vehicle traffic will be diverted off of Queen between Bay and Victoria. And to talk more about this, I'm joined live now by James Wattie from Metrolinx. Good morning, James. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning.
We'll start off with what work is being done there, because a lot of people know now about the closure, but what exactly is happening?
So we're building the Ontario line. This is going to be a 15-stop brand new subway from Don Mills and Eglinton to Exhibition, and one of those stops will be at Queen and Yonge. So starting today, we're diverting all vehicle traffic off of Queen Street for roughly 2 blocks from Bay to Victoria, and this is going to be in place, as you said, for about 4.5 years. And we understand this is, of course, a long stretch of time, but we're doing this full closure to actually speed up construction of the Ontario Line Queen Station by about a year. So the work that's actually going on there is that we are building a connection with the current TTC Line 1 subway, and this is going to be the busiest connection on the Ontario Line to the Line 1 subway.
Now, 4.5 years, you mentioned it. It is quite a long period of time. And with everything that's happening on Eglinton with the LRT construction there and the cost overruns plus the time overrun that we're seeing there, a lot of people are concerned about the timing itself. How confident is Metrolinx that it will be 4.5 years maximum, not minimum?
So that's why we're doing this full closure. If we had done partial closures, as I believe Richard said earlier, it would have taken probably another roughly about a year. So by doing this, this gives our construction teams the space and the time to get that connection done as quickly as possible and as safely as possible.
Okay, and you think 4.5 years would be the max on this then?
That is our target, yes.
That's the target, okay. And if it does go over, that's the concern that a lot of people have, because 4.5 years is already such a jarring amount of time for people. It's a jarring number for people. When it comes to that being the target, I think there is this wide concern that when it comes to Metrolinx construction projects, that there is often a delay and that people could be seeing this Queen Street closure be delayed like the Eglinton LRT one is now.
We appreciate people's concerns, but our goal right now is to get this construction done as safely and as quickly as possible. We're working with our construction teams just like we do on all of our projects to make sure they stick to the time that we have told the public. And of course, if there's any updates to that, we will let the public know as soon as we can.
Okay, and that's the main thing too as well. I've spoken to the BIA last week talking about just how they think businesses will be impacted, and their main concern was transparency and communication so everyone was in the loop with any changes. So how will Metrolinx be putting those statements out on a regular basis? Again, we're going back to the Eglinton LRT and some issues that we're seeing there that weren't really communicated prior. So is this something that you'll be doing ahead of time, Metrolinx putting out any kind of issues or disruptions in the service itself and in the construction ahead of time before reporters or residents ask for it?
For sure. And in the case of this closure, we've actually been communicating about this closure for the last 2 years. And when it comes to businesses, we just want to make sure everyone knows that access to businesses will be maintained at all times, and that includes access to loading docks. We keep an open line of communications with our businesses throughout these processes, and we'll continue to keep that two-way dialogue open throughout the closure to ensure that business community receives the supports they need during construction.
Okay, and we know that this is just starting today, so it's hard to say, but if there's any kind of miss when it comes to targets and that this goes beyond 4.5 years, and even with this 4.5 years and the businesses in the area will be impacted considering vehicular traffic is stopped, is there any provincial compensation on behalf of Metrolinx or the province itself that will help those businesses get through this time?
I don't want to speak for the provincial government, but in terms of Metrolinx, we will definitely work with businesses throughout the construction to make sure that they receive their support.
Okay. James Wattie from Metrolinx, thank you so much for joining us here this morning. I appreciate you taking the time.
Thanks, Tammie.